Thank you very much indeed for inviting me here, Steve. And I have to say to both to you and to Colin, the work that you are doing is absolutely leading the way, and it is what the future of local government is going to be. And I think the most important thing about what you've done, you didn't wait for ministers to tell you to do it. You didn't wait for us to produce some kind of guidelines. We had a discussion this morning about an event that took place in which a load of lovies got together and started talking about localism. And I said, oh my dear chaps, we've got to have a definition of localism before we can move on. If we waste all our time defining localism, localism will be strangled by the straitjacket of that very definition. And what we are now in a business is producing more for less. Now, as you know, next week the government will set out its spending plans for the next 4 years. And as you can understand, I think none of us have any illusions about exactly how tough that is going to be. But we've simply got to face the facts. We've got to face up to the legacy that we've been left, the crippling public deficit, the black hole in the nation's finances. And we live in very forgiving times. I'm a very forgiving person by nature. But I think we should perhaps remind the nation exactly who got us into this particular mess. The decisions we're going to be taking in spending review are essentially to preserve our very fragile recovery, to retain some international credibility and to restore economic credibility. That's obviously massively important. Big worry about sovereign debt. We've got the largest sovereign debt. The work that we put in to shore things up at the budget, I think, essentially took a lot of the attention away from the British economy, and we've looked for weaker economies elsewhere. But above all, we've been working towards a fair deal to protect frontline services, the services that people rely on. Locally, I think there's the right response and the wrong response. The wrong response will be to panic. The wrong response will be to slash and burn services, regardless of what's going on, to that rather dreadful process which we see in government and we see in councils, that process of salami slicing, in an assumption that if you salami slice, somewhere along the line you can actually go back to the old patterns of spending, and they've gone forever. But there is another way, and that's the Hammersmith and Fulham way, the Wandsworth way, the Westminster way, and forgive me if I don't go on and talk about other good Conservative councils, which is to put everything under the spotlight, asking if every penny they spend is going to the right place. So it's not just about asking how can we save money, but what do we really need the money to do? Do we need to continuously bring in hired guns to lobby government, to use public money to lobby government for more resources? Do we really need separate planning departments, communication teams, or with great respect, separate chief executives? Or should we be focusing on what really matters to people? Better schools, safer streets, regular bin collections. Most councils don't need me to point this out. They've seen the way in which the wind is blowing for a long time. But if I'm to be really frank with you, and I'm sure you want me to be, others are bleating about the difficulties they face while letting money just simply slip through their fingers. Now, I don't want to pick on a particular council, and I'm really sorry to do this to Islington, but their internal audit, checking invoices to 30 of the council's top suppliers, found that 10 out of that 30 had been paid twice on the same invoice. 2 more were paid 3 times on the same invoice. That's £55,000 worth of overpayment. through just a fraction of all their invoices. Anybody can make a mistake, and a one-off mistake is very understandable. But a recent report by Expedient suggests that the problem runs deeper in some places. Their work with Leeds City Council has revealed around £500,000 of overpayments. Expedia estimates that if this simple exercise were repeated in all England's local authorities, it would save £147 million. Now, you might well say that this is small potatoes, hardly enough money to plug the gaping holes in the public deficit. But £147 million would pay the wages of nearly 9,000 care workers. And more importantly, it betrays a particular attitude, a lack of respect towards the public and a lack of respect towards public money. And at every level of local government, that has simply got to change. This is one of the first things that I tried to address in my own department, to kind of bear down on anything that was wasteful. I'm not talking about the biscuits and the tea, but more fundamental things. We must never forget whose money it is. It's not ours, we're entrusted with it, and we simply can't fritter it away. All of us, including my department, as well as councils, have got to be able to look the public straight in the eye. And we've got to be able to put our hand on our heart and say that nothing is being wasted. That's why I'm asking councils to throw open their books, to become more transparent, more open. And that's why we'll be doing much more of this. Greater transparency will really revolutionise the way government works. It will say to suppliers that the government no longer is there to be fleeced. We'll make every single government employee think twice before they get something on the public credit card. That means that the public can judge public spending for themselves. And they won't forget councils who don't cut out all waste before squeezing services. And perhaps public servants will take extra care not to overplay suppliers when they know that there's going to be an army of armchair auditors checking their workings. As your chum and my chum, Baroness Eaton, says, we should cut 100% of waste, red tape and junketing before we even contemplate reductions in frontline services. The first step is to absolutely eliminate, so far as possible, all traces of waste. But the second, I think, is much more radical. This might be an enforced opportunity, but it's an opportunity nevertheless. A chance to re-examine the way that every council works, the way that every single council service is delivered. No one can just fall back on throwing money at problems. And if the past decade has shown anything, it's shown that it just simply doesn't work out anyway, throwing money. Nor does the solution lie in unitary restructuring. There's no point in wasting time on divisive, expensive plans dreamt up and directed by Whitehall. Instead, there's a lot of common sense solutions that councils have got well underway. Now, let's just take some examples of councils that are really motoring. Birmingham is saving £430,000 a year just by sorting its own post. They plan to save a further £540 million through changing the way their back office services work. Worcestershire have counted 24 agencies working with young people. They know that they can offer a better services if they try to cut down on that duplication. That just gives an indication of just how much room there is around the edges that councils can take money out. The LGA said a couple of weeks ago that joining up services properly could save around £5 billion a year. And they are lending some of they are leading some of the great stuff on the productivity agenda. And frankly, I'm no longer interested in people talking about efficiency. We take that for granted. The real kind of improvement I want to see now is on productivity. And you've heard about better procurements, sharing services, sharing chief officers, and greater efficiencies for years now. It makes even more surprising that not every council has frankly got into gear. Because we aren't talking about economising, tinkering around the edges. It's got to be even more thrifty. We've got to be really radical, creative, innovative in transforming everything that councils do. Councils like Nottinghamshire and Somerset are reviewing every single service they offer. As Councillor Maddox says, that what they're asking, they lay down kind of a three-pronged test. Does it really need to be done? Does it provide value for money? Are we the best people to be doing it? That seems to me to be a very sensible three-pronged approach.